Paul, you had talked about that it was important that your facilitators are aware of this kind of thing and are prepared to handle what you called the projection of the golden shadow. Can you outline
Mm,
that a little bit?
sure. Um, I can either make the assumption that your listeners know what the shadow is, or I can do a quick recap of the shadow, and then what the golden shadow is, or how would you like me to handle that?
I would say do a quick recap.
Okay, so you can basically see that you have a conscious mind and unconscious mind, and the shadow is a part of the unconscious mind. And in short, you can see that it's all the things about yourself that you don't want to admit to, a tiny bit you do know, most of which you don't know, but these influences, often formed in childhood through parents and society, become repressed aspects of our personality. So the shadow can be shame, it can be disgust, it can be fear, it can be terror, but it definitely has a more negative connotation. The golden shadow are all about strengths and greatness within ourselves that we have repressed from a very early age. So we all know people, for example, that have to dim their light around others. So, there are many great creators in the world that came out of severely abusive childhoods and went on to create great artistry, music, art, you name it, right? But just as many that came out of abusive childhoods and survived, there are those that developed self-destructive habits and repressed their creativeness and their strengths. And so what tends to happen is, working in the space that we do, if we find that a particular guest has an intense admiration towards a retreat leader or a lead therapist or a particular facilitator, that is a sign, not always, of a golden shadow projection. You see it in social media, right? How people are projecting their golden shadow over the Kardashians and Kanye and Elon Musk. They're projecting this intense admiration and greatness onto these people, but it's actually a repressed aspect of their shadow material. So there's two facets to this. The first facet is it's our job, whether it's dark shadow material or golden shadow material, to not accept those projections, to help the guests recognize those projections are going on, and to help to bring this material into the light and to integrate it into their personality so they can reap the benefits of their own golden shadow and these creative strengths that come up within them. The other side of things is you have probably, and your listeners have probably seen many Netflix documentaries about cults and gurus and spiritual movements and yoga movements. And what you'll see in many of them is that a well-intentioned individual that had done some work in life and was gifted had a following that built up around him or her over time. And their followers started to project the golden shadow onto this individual. And the danger in that is that if the individual starts to believe in this grandiosity and in this greatness and in this superiority and their specialness, that can begin to metastasize within their own shadow and their own being. And as we see with all these documentaries on Netflix, ultimately the individual collapses and the organization often collapses in around them once that has metastasized within them and reached the apex of its expression. They'll often, with these followers, dictate certain rules and ways of being in life that their followers have to do, but they don't have to observe themselves. We all know how the cult leader operates. And so for me, it's two-sided. It's making sure that, yes, my facilitators know that they are damn good at what they do. They're competent. That's an invitation to go inwards and recognize that without too much ego and specialness involved, but to recognize that when a golden shadow is being projected on them, that they're being called a guru, and there's this intense admiration, is to pass that back to the guest in the most compassionate kind of way possible. Because I'm not going to see micro meditations, whether it's me or my senior team members or anybody in my team, start to develop such an air of grandiosity that they believe that they can walk on water. And I've seen that happen so many times.
Hmm. Well, that's good. I mean, like one of the biggest concerns I hold for any kind of sort of psychedelic community, be it professional and otherwise,
Mm,
is the sort of sometimes like slow boiled frog, pace of those
mm,
kinds of things happening. Because yeah, like you said, there are a lot of examples, Netflix and beyond, of
yeah,
what started as
yeah.
very genuine, beautiful, spiritual and otherwise communities sort of essentially creating scenarios such as that. And yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's almost like even if those individuals didn't have any particular narcissistic traits, how that can all evolve into a grandiose, even malignant type of narcissism is incredible to me. This pattern that keeps happening, we all need to be alert for it within any space that we work in, but especially psychedelics, to avoid that kind of thing happening. And I'm seeing it happening all over the place, though.
And I mean, it is such the case, you said, that dark triad personalities can thrive in certain structures, social structures. Yep. And what I'm hearing you say is that it is also the case, maybe similar to how people in the corporate world end up doing things that in hindsight they realize was so far outside of what they would normally believe to be right or something, that social structures can sort of distort a person into behaving and expressing in ways that otherwise they would not have, as a consequence of sort of this these structures and how it's contributing to a person's mind, which I think gives an opportunity. I mean, I think actions and responsibilities for actions, regardless of intention, are important. And at the same time, it sounds like you speaking almost compassionately to recognizing that there are some scenarios where it was a group effort to get somebody to the place where they became the villain.
Yeah. But of course, if they are truly narcissistic, they're probably both the hero and the victim in their own story.
Okay, the mind, complex place.